Let's get it going. Let's see. Alrighty. So we can have a seat on the ground. We're going to start with kind of our usual warm up with the neck and the shoulders. We've done this a few times. We're just going to start with shoulder rolls, up, back, and down. Let me get this a little bit better. So I've said this a few times in other classes, but we don't want to go forward like this because that's bad posture, puts you in this position. So we want to go up, back, and down. So good posture, finishing in this position like that, rolling through that. Should feel some crunches while you're doing that. That's okay. Getting things moving. We're going to do about 20 of these. And we'll do about 10 more. So up, back, and down. You're thinking about your shoulders moving, but also getting your shoulder blades into the action too. Just make sure you're not having any neck pain with this. If you're having neck pain with it, then you're doing too much upper trap. Keep everything moving. Motion is lotion, right? All right, so we'll do some neck rolls next. So the big clockwise movement, taking that chin. It's like if you had a paintbrush on the top of your head, we're painting that nice big circle. We're going to do 10 of these each way, slowly. Don't go too fast. If you're getting dizzy or going too fast. Okay, last one, and then we'll go counterclockwise. 10 more. We're going to start with kind of a whole body warm up. Just some basic movements, getting everything going, and then we'll break it down again. Make sure you have your foam roller somewhere close, because we're going to be using that a little bit. Let's do a couple more. Okay, then let's go on to our back. We're going to do hip fallouts. So we've done the fallouts for low back and hip. Today we're going to focus more on the hip, so that means our low back is going to stay as flat on the ground as possible. Get those feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. And then keeping the back flat, you're going to try to touch your knee to your opposite ankle as you just let your legs fall out to the side. Cross that leg, so on the side that you're falling out to, cross it over, push down on the opposite knee for more of a stretch. Let's just hold for like 5 seconds, and then we'll switch. Fall out, push it down. You should feel the stretch through the hip, through this area. Some of you might feel it more in the front of the hip. Some might feel it through the side, and in this area right here, through that joint capsule area, which is what we want. And we'll just keep switching back and forth. We're going to do 10 of these on each side, so it'll take a little while. But remember, whenever you're doing all these stretches, when you're at home, don't just try to get through them. Really focus on getting the best stretch that you can with them. because that makes a big difference. If you're just going through the motions, you're not getting a whole lot done. If you're really focusing on getting a good stretch, not a painful stretch, but a good stretch, that's when you're really getting the benefit for it. Again, don't let the low back rotate. If your low back's coming off the ground, then just don't push quite as far. Push as far as you can, finding that sweet spot where you're feeling the hip stretch and your low back's not rotating. Yeah, Melissa, so Melissa's gonna be our new PT. If she wasn't so busy with boards and everything right now, she's got a lot of stuff to stress out about. I was there at one point. I would have brought her and introduced you, but once she's passed once she's in the stress-free zone, I'll introduce you guys to her. She's awesome. Keep switching back and forth. Let's do maybe like 2 more on each side. Ooh, my left one was tight. Yeah, so feel for the differences. See if one hip is a little more tight than the other. That way you can focus on these a little more when you're not doing the class. Get that hip mobility going. But it's important. We want good mobile hips because of that wide range that it does. If you have tight hips, it could go up into your low back, start causing some low back pain. If your hips are tight, it could also go down into your knees. You could start getting some knee pain. A lot of times people come into the clinic with knee pain and they'll be like, oh, my knee hurts right here, right in the front. They'll move their hips around and their hips are just super tight and it's putting them in an internally rotated position, something like that. And it like surprises them when I'm saying that their problem's not coming from really their knee, it's more coming from the hips. All right, last one. Okay, take a deep breath. We're going to stay on our back and we're going to do some double knees to chest. Grab the top of those knees, pull up. Now I want you to pull your knees up to the point that you feel your tailbone come off the ground. You might even feel your lumbar spine go into a little bit of flexion, so it's flexing up like that, just tilting. Pull up, we're going to do about 10 rocks, getting a little bit of tailbone off the ground, rocking through that. And then we're going to do a few crunches into that just to get a little more flexion. Be careful with this though, if you've got like bulging discs, something like that, where you don't really like flexion-based stretches and exercises. Could flare you up if you're pretty acute. Couple more. Good. Now let's pull them all the way up and we'll do 10 crunches into that. Really trying to get that lumbar spine flexing as we crunch. So it's just going from both angles, getting flexion through both. Not as much of a core exercise. You might feel it in your core a little bit, but we're just focusing on mobility. Keep going with those. I'm gonna take off real quick. Keep going with those. Should have a few left. Okay, and then let's grab the foam roller. We're gonna work on thoracic spine. So we'll lay on that foam roller, put it right below the shoulder blades. Hands behind the head for a little support. Let's go up into that bridge. And we'll just do some matching of those paraspinals and the scapular muscles. You're gonna take about 30 seconds to roll. If you find a really good spot, you can kind of do smaller movements and work through that. Find those trigger points. If it hurts, you're probably on a trigger point. About 15 more seconds. Rolling through there. You're going to roll from about the spine of your scapula, which is about mid shoulder blade, all the way down to maybe ½ inch below the shoulder blade. Try to cover all that. And again, feel for those tender points. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to roll this all the way down to the bottom of the shoulder blades. Drop the butt down to the ground. Take a nice deep breath. My back just popped before I even dropped into it. And then relax over it, going into thoracic extension. Two deep breaths. Mini sit up. Move the foam roller up towards your head, about one vertebrae or like ½ an inch to an inch, depending on how big or small you are. And then take a deep breath again, just drop into it again. Relaxing into that, extending back as far as you can. This is painful for your shoulders, just kind of put your arms out. Main thing is you're letting your spine just kind of fold over that foam roller. I like to have my hands supporting my head. Okay, mini sit up. Let's go another vertebrae up. And extend back over that. Ooh, I'm on a trigger point right now. This feels great. Two deep breaths again. Okay, mini sit up. Let's go up one more spot, then we'll work our way down. So now we're at about the spine of the scapula, if you've been going up at the right amount. This one is when you start feeling like, okay, I'm not really getting too much of a stretch now. Starting to hit our limit. So this will be the last one we do before we work our way back down. And at home, this is as far as you need to go. Okay, mini sit up. Now let's work our way back down. One vertebrae. And let's just do one deep breath per vertebrae. And then let's work our way down. Extend over, one deep breath. Mini crunch. Deep breath as you drop down. Okay. Sit all the way up. Might be a little lightheaded, so take your time. We're going to go onto our hands and knees. As you get reoriented, turn the foam roller vertically. And then bring it into your left side. We're going to do a little bit of threading the needle with the foam roller. So your hand's going to be on the inside of the foam roller. Your opposite hand, I'm going to do my right hand underneath my elbow on the foam roller. I'm going to sit back just a little bit and then roll into that thoracic rotation. So you're just rotating through your upper back. We're going to do 10 of these. Make sure you're breathing. I like to exhale as I'm rotating. Again, try to rotate through your upper back, less through the lower back and the hips. Trying to keep those neutral. That way everything's coming from that upper back. Get that good stretch. Switch. So now it'll be on the opposite side. Right hand down, left hand underneath on the roller. Rotating through. So way tighter for me. Let's do 3 more after this. Good. So we're going to keep with the theme of thoracic spine and shoulders. So good mobility, you want, if you're not doing this class, it's in everyday life, you want good mobility of your spine, and then you also want to make sure that those postural muscles are nice and strong. That way, when you need to go through full mobility, they can help. So it's called the coupling mechanism in the shoulder to be able to achieve full flexion or abduction in each shoulder movement. So you need all the right muscles in the back of the shoulder, like low traps, things that are going to pull on that scapula to bring it up in an upward rotation. If those aren't doing their job, then they're going to pull on the back. They're going to pull on your scapula, give you shoulder pain. So we want to make sure that we work on those. So I'm going to show you a few that I like to do. Go on your stomach. We're going to go in what's called the T position like this. And so if any of you have seen me for shoulder pain, you've done these. We'll start with the T's. And so the key to this is getting your shoulder blades activating. You're not doing this exercise with your arms, you're doing it with your shoulder blades, okay? So you're going to be in this T position, thumbs up. That's going to get those rhomboids activated a little bit more, which go from the spine to the medial border of your scapula. So they adduct your scapula, very important for shoulder movement. So we'll go thumbs up, and then I want you to squeeze those shoulder blades back and down like you're trying to put them in the opposite back pocket. Get that activation in the back, and then you're just going to lift your hands maybe 3-4 inches off the ground. Hold for a few seconds, down, squeeze back and down. Let's do 10 of those like that. These might be a little hard for you, so they're hard. Make sure that you tell me at the end of the class, and I could tell you some modifications. Keep it all on the shoulder blades. Make sure that your shoulders aren't coming up towards your ears. If they're coming up towards your ears like this, then that upper trap's kicking in. Back and down. Shoulder in the opposite, shoulder blade in the opposite back pocket. Good. Okay, should be about 10. And then what you're going to do, you'll be in the same position. One other thing that you could do with this to make it a little more comfortable is to have a towel roll underneath your forehead. That way you're nice and relaxed, not holding your head way up. Let's do the second version. You're going to do eyes. So you're in like an eye position, palms up, hands by your side like this. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to squeeze those shoulder blades back and down and lift the palms up towards the ceiling, down. Squeeze with those shoulder blades, so you should feel this in the back. Don't just use your arms. We'll do 10 of these with just like 3-second holds to start. 10-second hold would probably be a little too hard for right now. One more. Good. That's hitting more of that lower trap area that I'm talking about. Upper traps are something that we really want to loosen. They tend to get really tight. Lower traps are like the most neglected muscle in the body. They go, so if your scapulars are here, your lower traps are just below that, and they pull your scapulas down in towards the spine so that you can get better upwards rotation. Okay, so those two are great for the shoulders. Let's keep it going with the mobility. We're going to get back to, let's go into some low back. Get this positioned right. And again, if you had pain with either of those shoulder exercises, let me know after the class and then we can modify things for you. Let's go into a child's pose. So hands out in front. Turn this like that. Go hands out in front, sitting back into that where you can dial it in to where you get that low back stretch. Might feel it in your shoulders a little bit too. Sit back into it. Let's hold it for about 20 seconds or so. And from there, let's angle it. So hands more towards the right side. Sit back towards that left hip. You should feel that stretch all through the left side. We'll hold that. Hold it for about 10 more seconds. Okay, then let's switch sides. Now hands towards the left side, sitting back towards that right hip. You should feel that stretch all through that right side. Good, keep going with that, finish up, hold it for about 5 more seconds. All right, don't laugh at me on the next one. I need to do this stretch, my hips are really tight. We're gonna do some pigeon pose. So, it's gonna be hard in pants, but bring that leg up in front. Kick your opposite leg out behind you. So you're gonna be in almost a 90-degree position up here with that knee. And then you're gonna lean forward just a bit and sit back into that where you feel that stretch through the hips. The farther up you can bring the knee, the better for this. It's kind of like the 90-90 stretch for the hips. Working on getting that hip stretched out. Let's hold this for like 30 seconds or so. Then we'll switch and we'll hit the other side. And again, we're just doing 30 seconds right now, but at home, I'd hold it for like a minute and a half or 2 minutes. All right, let's switch. Kick that leg back.
Bring that leg forward at that 90-degree angle. Slip back into that. Ooh, big stretch on the side. I'm just kind of sitting back towards the outside of my hip on this side. 10 more seconds. Okay. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, let's go on to our stomachs for the next one. All the way down onto the stomach, we're gonna work on a little more hip flexion in this prone position. So what we're gonna do is one knee at a time. You're gonna drive it up like you're trying to touch your elbow up here as far as you can. Get back down and we'll switch. Bring the other one up as far as you can. You're going into a little bit of hip abduction, external rotation, and flexion. We're going to do 10 of these on each side. I'm just holding it at the top for a little bit. Try not to rotate into that, just keep that all coming from the hip. Close. So a couple more on each side. Last one. Okay, then let's roll on your side. Nice and easy. We're going to work on hip internal and external rotation next. So let's work on hip internal rotation of the right leg first. Knee up, bottom leg straight. Then you're just going to lift that foot. That's going to bring your hip into internal rotation because your femur is rotating inward. We're going to do 10 of those. And then while we're in this position, we'll hit external rotation of our left leg. And we'll flip around and do the same thing on the other side. If you want to get really crazy with it, grab it, pull it a little bit into more of a stretch. Okay, now let's switch. We'll work on external rotation of the left hip. So you're just going to lift that foot up like that. Same thing, you can get crazy and grab and pull if you want. This is a good self-assessment for how mobile your hips are. I am lacking some external rotation in this left hip. My internal rotation on the other side is pretty good. Let's do one more, and then we'll switch. Good. Switch sides on that other side. Let's keep going with the left leg. We'll bring it over. We'll work on internal rotation. I think my whole left hip is just super tight. So that's not very good either. Makes sense. That's why my golf game was off this weekend. All right. That was the reason. Okay, let's switch. And that's it. External rotation of the right hip. Bring that foot up. Keep that going in there. And if you want to do the more aggressive version, feel free. Okay, finish those up. Last thing we're gonna do, we're gonna finish up with some squats. I'm gonna move this so I have a little more space to show you guys. Okay, so I want to get more people doing squats because they are a great exercise. A few things that I see with squats are people go a little too narrow and they're like this, they're coming way forward and they're not going down very far. They're kind of doing mini squats. So it kind of looks like this, just pushing their butt out. What I want to do, I just want to show you guys how to do squats correctly. That way you can work on this because it's going to be good for your mobility of your ankles, your hips, even your back and your thoracic spine if you just work on it. Let's start with stance. You're going to go feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. And let's just do a little bit of a toe out, so a little bit of an out flare with the toes. I want you to do one real quick. See how far down you can go. Can you go all the way down, or are you only going to here? Okay. Do a couple. See how low you can go. If you're by a mirror, watch yourself in the mirror. See if you're going right side dominant or left side, or if you're nice and even. You want to be nice and even. And you want your butt to try to go below the knees as much as you can. So you want to go below parallel. There's a myth out there that going below parallel is bad for your knees. That is not correct. You actually have more pressure on your knees in a squat when you're at 90 degrees. So going past it is good. No problems with that. Last thing that I want you to watch for is that forward bend of your torso. You don't want your torso going way out like this because that's compensating for thoracic spine mobility. Ankle dorsiflexion might not be great. I want you trying to be torso upright as you drop down deep into that squat. And as you push up, you're pushing your toes kind of down and out. So imagine if there was a piece of paper in between your feet, you're trying to rip that piece of paper by pushing down and out with those feet. Okay. If you find that your torso is leaning forward, you can't fix it, you don't know what to do with it, two options. Option one is in the clinic, I'll usually use some plates that are like 1/2 inch thick. You could use a yoga mat, maybe it might make a difference, but I'll check ankle mobility. If somebody's ankle mobility is not good, like dorsiflexion, it's not gonna let them go into that full squat. So I'll prop their heels up just a little bit. So if you have something right now, you could even try it with that. Prop your heels up about 1/2 inch and see if you can go lower into that squat just doing that. Pushing back out. See what your torso does too. Is your torso still coming forward? Are you just getting lower or no change at all? Okay, so next thing you can do with that, if that helps, awesome, it should help. The one other thing you can do is if you have like a dumbbell, or you could even hold just like your foam roller out in front, holding the weight out in front helps you keep your torso upright a little bit more, okay? So holding, I'll have somebody hold maybe like a 5-pound weight. That's just a counterweight to keep you upright. So it's not gonna pull you down into this position. It'll keep you nice and upright as you're going up and down. So lots to digest with that, but try to do about 10 more squats like that. I want you, when you're doing squats just at home, do them to fatigue, you know, if you can do 20 of them, we call it an exertional scale here. So I'll ask people on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is that for you to do? If they're telling me a 7, I'm like, perfect, now do 5 more. So you want to get up to that fatigue point without pain, and you want to really try to push yourself, load those tissues, because you're going to be getting some stretch, you're going to be strengthening, right? And it's just a great whole body exercise. Just trying to think if there's anything else. If with the squat, there's a couple different ways you can do it too. You can do sumo stance, which is way out here. This is going to work more posterior chains like glutes as you do that. And if you want to focus more on quads, then you go a little bit narrower stance with your feet forward. And that will get those quads activated a little bit more. But, okay. So, let me know if you have any questions about that. That was a lot of information about a squat, but I figure with the last class, I think we've gone into it a little bit before. I wanted to make sure that I introduced you guys to that and really broke it down for you, because squats are amazing.